It's hard to break us now. It's hard to break us. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Open look, Gomez, he hits it! What a play called by Tom Izzo in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Hayden, Chicago! Oh my God! Hayden with the overtime winner!
Jameer Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6-6 Kane Jameson Williams, he's got it! Touchdown, Lions! Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed, he scores! Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
Let's hope that's a case tonight for Dylan Larkin and the Red Wings as they get back on the schedule. Welcome, everybody, to a Tullymore Thursday. We're glad you're with us here on X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan. I'm Matt Shepard. Andy McDonald is with us as well. He is our producer today. The Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. We are brought to you this first hour by Mitch Lyons Wealth. Andy, have you ever been – so today is April 2nd. Yesterday was April 1st. Obviously, it's April Fool's. What's the worst April Fool's joke ever played on you?
Oh, gosh. I mean, that's taking me back to, probably my college days at CMU. But I don't know. I had a professor one time literally lie about where our class was going to be at. But it was still close enough to where our class was actually at that when we all went to it, we were able to still just walk back to where it was supposed to be. But it was pretty easy for him to switch it around because it was in the same building, but still threw all of us off. I don't think one person caught him on it. So it was pretty good.
Well, it happened to me yesterday on social media. Our good friend Mitch Lyons, who sponsors the first hour of our program, joins us Mondays at 7:18 for Mondays with Mitch. Tweeted out that he was going to step away from the financial world for a little bit and join Pat Fitzgerald as an assistant coach. So, of course, I retweeted it and said, hey, good luck to you. This guy bleeds green and white, and he drips football. April Fools had to retract it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we all get caught every once in a while.
Sure
glad
do.
people are with us here on a Tullymore Thursday. The Tigers get swept by Arizona. Remember, Arizona was swept by LA in the first series of the season. And as I mentioned before the matchup with Arizona, I said, remember, Arizona led each game against the Dodgers. They had to come back, did LA. Arizona able to sweep Detroit thanks to a 1-0 win yesterday. Tarek Skubal gives up a first-inning homer to Corbin Carroll, who torched the Tigers during the series. It was the 9th pitch of the game, and Carroll took it yard. It's just the 6th ever homer allowed to a left-handed hitter by Skubal in his career. Just the 6th by a lefty. The lefty-on-lefty matchup is really hard. Don't ask me why righty-on-righty isn't hard, because most pitchers are righty and most hitters are righty. But it's lefty-on-lefty that you would like to avoid. Doesn't matter when you're an everyday starter like Corbin Carroll, great young player, and he goes yard and the Snakes make it hold up. Carroll had 4 extra base hits and 2 homers in the series. Skubal tossed 7 innings of 4-hit, 3-strikeout ball and yet suffers the loss. And this is why many people feel like wins and losses can be very misleading when it comes to starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. Zach Gallen, just good enough through 6 innings for the win. The Tigers' home opener is tomorrow. They open up a weekend series against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals beat the Mets 2-1 in 11 innings last night. They're off to a 4-2 start. And while many people in Detroit are bragging, and rightfully so, about Kevin McGonigal and just how good he is, whether he's playing third base or shortstop, and yesterday he made a phenomenal play. Also, a little strange on the miss. I don't know what the hell happened there, because it looked like, I guess it went off the heel of his glove, but it looked to be a much easier play than he made it look. But then the very next hitter, he turns 2 on. starts a double play. So that's great. But he made a really nice play at third base. J.J. Weatherholt is the starting shortstop for St. Louis. So if you're going to the game or you're watching the game or listening to the game, J.J. Weatherholt is a name you're going to want to remember for a while. He is supposed to be their up-and-coming young player for a long, long time. He is the equivalent in St. Louis to Kevin McGonigal in Detroit. So you'll see two of the more premier hitters for their ages in baseball this weekend, downtown Detroit. Wings, as I mentioned, back on the schedule tonight. They're in Philly to take on the Flyers. Now, Philly's gone unbeaten in 8 of their last 10, including last week a 5-3 win over Detroit. And the Wings have dropped 405. They're 5-7-1 in March, but March is over. It's now April. Okay, so this is hopefully a good thing. I asked somebody last night, do you think it's over? They've got 8 games remaining. They're 2 games back. They've got a game in hand on Columbus. They said yes. Now, I think a lot of people have felt that way over the last couple of weeks. And I get it. I do. I mean, I'm not asking you to be a cheerleader here. I'm asking you if you think this team is done. And there is just not much of a feel at all for this club, unfortunately. They don't play the way Red Wings teams have played in the past. What did we have? We had that conversation yesterday. Mike called in with a very passionate feeling about this team and what frustrates him most. And it's hard to deny. I don't know how you can watch this team on a night-to-night basis, follow this team on a night-to-night basis, listen to this team every single night, and not agree with Mike. That they just don't seem to have what is necessary. You're going to want to follow Philadelphia, Ottawa, and I guess to a certain extent Washington, who won the other night behind Alexander Ovechkin's 2 goals. He's unbelievable. You know, he's 40 years old. Everybody talks about LeBron James, and I get it because LeBron James is a freak. You know who else is a freak? Alexander Ovechkin. He's at 40 years old. He's got over 30 goals. We're making it a big deal that Dylan Larkin's got 30. What about Alexander Ovechkin? He's only done it 20 times in his career, 30 or more. It's stupid numbers, but nobody talks about that. It's always about LeBron James. You know why? Because give me the camera. Let me tell you about myself. Let me wear another patch. Let me stumble on the floor and make it look like I got shot. Anyway, they're now within a point of Detroit and Philadelphia and Ottawa chasing Columbus for the number 2 wild card. You're not catching Boston. Boston's got 94 points. Detroit has 86. You're not making up 8 points in 8 games and hoping that Boston goes into some type of swoon when they've won 4 straight and 9 of their last, or unbeaten in 9 of their last 10. But what we do want to do is follow the other teams that are close. So as Detroit squares off against Philadelphia and has to take care of their business, Columbus is at Carolina tonight. And on paper, one would assume, it's not a fair assumption, but it's an assume that they would lose to Carolina. Buffalo, who has been as hot a team as anybody since the calendar turned, is in Ottawa. So those are 2 other things that we need to keep in mind. 2 other players, 2 other teams, 2 others on the schedule that we need to follow along tonight and see how Detroit does. First thing first, Detroit's got to beat Philly. But they're going to have to play differently than how they have played. When we come back, Pistons in action tonight and some outstanding performances in case you missed it from last night, both on the ice and on the floor. Just getting rolling here on a Tullymore Thursday on X's and Bros, and we're brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth. Stay with us.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
For a complete list of Huge Show radio affiliates where you can listen weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. anywhere in Michigan, go to thehugeshow.net.
Coming up later today at 3 on The Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. We'll be right back after this break, but while you're waiting, be sure to vote on our daily poll question presented by MitchLyonsWealth.com at XB Mornings on X.
I mean, I'm just trying to be whatever I could be for my teammates, trying to dominate the paint on both sides of the floor. I think I got to give a lot of credit to the guys because they find me in a lot of spots. You know, they find me in my duck ends. They look for me for lobs and dump offs. And so, I mean, I couldn't do it without them. I think, like I said, it's not really about scoring for me. Like, if it comes, it comes. But I'm just trying to be as dominant as I can and give my teammates all my energy.
Dude's becoming a star, man. It's Jalen Duren. Welcome back, X's and Bros. We're gonna talk about that at 7:18 here on X's and Bros. Great stuff. Jalen Duren has become a leader of this team. We thought it was all just Cade Cunningham and his merry men. It's not the case. The numbers support Jalen Duren becoming a star. We'll explain coming up at 7:18. Glad you're with us. Welcome back. Tigers, as we mentioned, swept in Arizona. Tarek Skubal's strong start wasted. Meanwhile, the Tigers' offense, and it's not a reason to get concerned yet. Period. At some point it will be, but the hardest thing in baseball, I think, is to let it breathe. Everybody wants the knee-jerk reaction because they play every day. We're used to that. At some point, we're going to go, man, I'm worried about this, this, and this. But I really like that, and that. And then the following month, it may be reversed. So all I ask you to do is pump the brakes. But we can have early opinions on things. Not definitively, but early opinions. And the early opinion is when you score 2 runs in 37 innings, 4 in the last 49, there's a reason you've lost 4 in a row. Because that's what the offense has done. 4 in their last 49, 2 in their last 37, i.e., that ain't good.
Sure isn't. I think most of the concern from people is probably coming from a lot of the Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson portion of the lineup, it seems like.
Absolutely, 100%. And we've got the numbers to back that up. That'll tell you exactly what Andy just said. That is dead on. The 3 of those players, or the heart of the lineup, collectively are batting $150. Now, Green had a double yesterday. They left him stranded, obviously, in a 1-0 loss. But you're not going to get anywhere if Green, Torkelson, and Carpenter combine for 9 for 60 with 23 punch-outs. In the first 6 games of the season, Green, Torkelson, and Carpenter are 9 for 60 with 23 strikeouts.
Yeah, in other news, that's not getting the job done.
Yeah, exactly right. I could tell you and preach to you that is baseball these days. That we got to accept the strikeouts. I hate it. And I think you do too.
Yeah,
and a lot of that is why. Because in the past, don't kid yourself. I'm not the only quote unquote old guy here. Okay. I'm not the only one who goes old guy. You go old guy plenty of times. You just don't always want to admit it. Because when I tell you those numbers, you'll say things like, man, I would like to see somebody play like Tony Gwynn. Those 3 guys we just mentioned have struck out 23 times combined in the first 6 games. Tony Gwynn struck out only 23 times the entire 1984 season when he and the Padres went to the World Series against the Tigers.
Yeah,
23 times.
It matters. I mean, if you can't move people around the bases because you're striking out, I think it matters. And I think Riley Green, one of the players that people talk about the most in this team, when you bring his name up about last season, it's like, yeah, it's great. He hit 36 home runs and hit over 110 people in. But the biggest concern for everybody is he led the league in strikeouts. I think that's like at least the American League. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that people talk about, and it already seems to be a part of the problem again this year.
I agree with that. Now, I would remind you that he has so far this season, not that it's good enough, so please don't think that that's what I'm saying, but so far this season, he has struck out 6 times in 6 games. In other words, you would be on pace, quote unquote, for 162, which would be a lot lower than the 200 plus that he struck out last year. I think it was 202 last year.
Absolutely.
201. Okay, so he led the American League. You're right. Andy's right. On the other hand, on pace now, he's due for a lot less. Does that matter to you? No. You know why? Because so far this season, he only has 5 hits. 5 hits compared to 6 strikeouts. You don't like that. I don't either. You don't like the fact that he doesn't have any homers. I don't either. You don't like the fact that he only has 4 RBIs. I don't either. So I'm not going to disagree with any of that. But when I tried to defend people a year ago, or defend Riley Green to a certain extent, because I think 201 strikeouts is obnoxious and ridiculous. But when I tried to tell you, but he did drive in 111, and he did have 36 homers, both career highs and both team highs. People said, I don't care. I want the strikeouts. Now I tell you the strikeouts are down, and what I get from people is, yeah, but he's not driving in any runs, and he's not hitting any homers. So you want both, and I get that. I'm not saying you shouldn't want both, but we're picking and choosing here. And it's going to come, but I would just remind you that nobody else, there's only been 1 home run hit by this team so far this year. Although Kevin McGonigal can make the argument he should have had another one because he was robbed in center field, right? It was a hell of a play by Jackson Merrill in San Diego. Anyway, so there's your situation right now. Andy's absolutely right when it comes to that stuff.
Well, I see your point too. I think that you're talking about Kevin McGonigal's having to pick hairs between somebody else hitting a home run in this team. I think everybody would say they probably haven't seen enough power in the first few games here.
For sure. I mean, it's brutal. Now, they've lost 4 in a row. You're 2-4. I'm not trying to be a glass half full guy here. If I asked you which teams have the best record through 6 games in Major League Baseball, who would you say? Just off the top of your head, who you might think. The answer is the Yankees, 5-1, the Brewers, 5-1, and the Marlins, 5-1. If I asked you who had the worst record through 6 games, the answers are the Boston Red Sox, the Chicago White Sox, and the fill-in-the-blank A's, who are off to a 1-5 start, all of them. Now, here's our poll question, our Mitch Lions Wealth poll question of the day. Do you agree the Lions should withhold part of Frank Ragnow's signing bonus? Because that's what they've done, and Rod Wood, the team president, told WJBK Channel 2 in Detroit the other day that he's not going to talk much more on it, but he said what he had to say. This is what, the policy is for the team. Look, yes or no is the answer, okay? You can vote as often as you want. I've retweeted it. Andy's put it out there at XB Mornings, and we'll give you the results Friday in the 8 o'clock hour. Teams have a right to do whatever the hell they want. They make it a policy, that's their policy. You could make the argument from the team's perspective that if you keep paying everybody their signing bonuses, more and more players are more likely to do exactly what Frank Ragnow did, do what Calvin Johnson did, do what Barry Sanders did. I can push back a little bit and say, wait a minute, it's been a long time between Calvin Johnson and Frank Ragnow. It was a long time between Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. Why do you think this could become some type of epidemic? People forget that, Frank Ragnow made a lot of money with the Lions. My question to people would be this. How much is enough? If you think 1.4 million, 2.6 million, whatever those $1 million signing bonuses may be for Barry, Calvin, Frank Ragnow, if you think that should be just pittance to a franchise because it's worth billions of dollars, how much is too much? In your mind, what would be enough? And what would be too much? And why? That's all I ask. Because everybody's got certain policies. Your household, your business, the Lions have the same thing. Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. Please text us, Sports Radio 21,000, or join us in the chat here on YouTube, X, and Facebook as we stream live, brought to you by Mitch Lions Wealth.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
We are at it again with Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. We want to send you to the Final Four and the Tigers home opener. That's right. 2 massive events. We call it the ultimate VIP sport trip of 2 days of incredible sports action. You and a friend win an overnight stay at Soaring Eagle on Thursday night. Then you'll be driven to downtown Detroit for the Tigers opening day festivities and, of course, the opening day ball game. You'll get a free night stay in Metro Detroit and then take a private jet to Indianapolis Saturday morning to watch the Final Four. You're going to watch the national semis, 2 games, and then come back on a private plane ride home. The Huge Show will announce the winner at Soaring Eagles Sportsbook Ascend. Show up on April 2nd and enter to win. You and a friend are going to have a couple of busy sports days. Tigers Friday, Final Four on Saturday. Doesn't get any better than that. Register for the ultimate VIP sports trip brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and, of course, us here at the Michigan Sports Network.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
This time of year, actually even before this time of year, the conversation oftentimes in any sport turns to MVP. Nathan McKinnon had his 50th goal last night. Is he the MVP of the National Hockey League? Good question. Look at what Macklin Celebrini has done, for crying out loud. I mean, the Red Wings and every team would want to get a kid like this. He's 19 years old. Let me just put this in perspective for a moment. What were you doing at 19? Because Macklin Celebrini for the San Jose Sharks is 19. He now has 40 goals, 65 assists, and 105 points in 73 games. When we complain about the Red Wings, and it's probably unfair to talk about this guy, he was on the number one line in Team Canada for silver medalists, but 40 goals, over 100 points. Who's the leader for the Red Wings in goals? Alex DeBrincat. He's got 37. It's a damn good year. Who's the leader in points for the Red Wings? Alex DeBrincat. He's got 78. DeBrincat's a goal scorer. Macklin Celebrini is a complete player. 65 assists. Who leads this team, Red Wings, in assists? Lucas Raymond with 47. That's how good Macklin Celebrini is. Should be in the conversation for MVP. Here's the problem. He plays for the San Jose Sharks. And San Jose isn't very good. All right? Third to last in the Pacific. But if it's individual and what they've been able to do and quote unquote carry their team and so on and so forth, he's got to be in the conversation. Right now, he is fourth in MVP. I would argue the MVP discussion in the National Hockey League, the Hart Trophy, is a lot more challenging than it is in the NBA. You got Connor McDavid, who leads the league in points with 125 and is third in the league in goals with 43. You got Nathan McKinnon, who leads the league in goals with 50 and is second in the league in points. Nikita Kucherov continues to do things that nobody has, or not nobody, very few players have ever done. 121 points and 40 goals. And then I mentioned Macklin Celebrini. I haven't brought up Leon Draisaitl. He's out for the rest of the year. He's fifth in the league in points. Plus minus, Nathan McKinnon leads the way. He's a plus 55. Nikita Kucherov is fourth in that category of 42. There's a lot of candidates, is my point. In the NBA, how many candidates are there? Now that Cade Cunningham will not qualify because of the collapsed lung, how many candidates are there? For most people, it's two. It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and it's Victor Wembanyama, right? Alexander scores 47 against the Pistons the other night. Look at what Victor Wembanyama has done. Victor Wembanyama, over the last 15 games, 400-plus points, 140 boards, 50 blocks, 33s made, and his team is 15-0. Okay? The last 15 games he's played in, they've won 10 in a row, but because he missed some games. Last night, he had 41, 18, and 3. In the Spurs win last night over Golden State, he had 41 points, 18 boards, and 3 blocks. Eye-popping stuff. No one else in NBA history could match that stat line if they took the best 15-game span of their career in each category specifically. Points, rebounds, blocks, threes made, and his team. That screams MVP, don't you think? I mean, at least when you're talking about it, you're bringing his name up. Fair? Okay. Can I give you another name that nobody's talking about and should be? It's a familiar name, and it's one that has already won it multiple times, and it's Nikola Jokic. And you're probably going, oh, God, give me a break. I mean, you're just, grabbing names who've won it before. Can I explain why? Thank you. Last night in Denver's win over Utah, he had 15 points, he had 17 boards, and he had 12 assists. Now, that may now jump off the page like Victor Wembanyama's has. But Nikola Jokic, by having 12 assists, is now guaranteed to average a triple-double this year. Still not impressed? Let me continue. Nikola Jokic, for the second consecutive season, will average a triple-double. The only player in history to ever do that is Russell Westbrook. Still not impressed. Okay. Nikola Jokic this year is averaging 11 assists a game. That leads the NBA. Jokic this year is averaging 13 rebounds per game. That leads the NBA. Nikola Jokic is averaging 28 points per game this year. That is 7th in the league. He is 2nd in double-doubles with 52, I believe. 1 away from the leader, which is Karl Anthony Towns, which may surprise some people. And he is number 1 in triple-doubles with 32. The next closest player in triple-doubles has 13. Do you think he belongs in the conversation? If I would hope you would say yes. I don't care how often a guy has won it. I care about what the guy's doing right now. His numbers are gaudy. Via text. This is from our good friend Freddie. He is like clockwork. Folks, if you're ever in Melvindale, right near the Lions practice facility, you go to his pizza joint. It's small. It doesn't matter. Lines outside the store for his food. His pizzas, arguably the best you will get in Detroit. Phenomenal. He says, the love in this town for 3 guys is nauseating. Here we go. One has disappeared over the last 2 months and paid like a star, Lucas Raymond. Riley Green, benched by his own manager in a big playoff moment after getting all those RBIs in the regular season. And Jalen Duren, who can never just dunk and never take over a game or gets plays called for him. Unless it's an alley-oop, let's give him $50 million. Completely wrong. Completely untrue. So Riley Green gets pinch hit in a playoff game, and you think this is a guy who can't get it done and he's overhyped. Come on, man. I mean, you may not like him, but when a guy leads your team in homers and RBIs last year, big reason why your team was able to get into the playoffs, wasn't great in the second half. Nobody was great in the second half. No one's calling him the second coming of Al Kaline. Nobody is doing that. But he is a 2-time All-Star. He is a Silver Slugger and should have won a Gold Glove. 2 years ago, should have won a Gold Glove. Again, keep it in perspective. As far as Jalen Duren is concerned, and I understand that you have not had a great affinity for Jalen Duren. I don't know if you watched the game the other night, but Jalen Duren didn't need a lob. He didn't need an alley-oop. And it wasn't a dunk. Took the ball at the top of the key, crossover dribble, drove the left side of the lane, created his own shot. He's done more and more and more of that. Jalen Duren, since the All-Star break, is 9th in points in the NBA. 9th in points, 5th in rebounds, 6th in free throws made. We always want big guys to make their free throws. Andre Drummond sucks. He couldn't make a free throw. Okay, I get it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, very good free throw shooter. Hakeem Olajuwon, very good free throw shooter. Shaquille O'Neal, not so much. Jalen Duren's a good free throw shooter. 2nd in the NBA in double-doubles, 1st in field goal percentage, and 1st in the NBA in total shooting percentage overall. What is it about him that you have an issue with? He's also playing 30 minutes a game and averaging 23 and 11. Oh, I would also say this. He now has the 2nd most games in a season by a center with 30 points and 90% field goal percentage in NBA history. The other was Wilt Chamberlain. Okay? Since Cade Cunningham went down, and when Cade Cunningham went down, the national pundits looked at their schedule and said, I see 3 wins. It's going to be hard for the Pistons to hold on to the number 1 seed. That's what they told us. I don't care who it was. Not one who I heard from was all in on the Pistons retaining such a large margin in the Eastern Conference. I'm not saying that I don't blame them. I'm just saying that's what they told us. Well, here's what they forgot, and here's what you're underestimating. Since Cade Cunningham went down, Jalen Duren's averaging 25 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3 assists per game. He's shooting 70% for the floor. He's hitting 88% of his free throws. What am I missing there? What is it you're missing? When I say this, I say this all the time about during the show. It is really hard to change people's minds. We make up our mind early and we are stuck. And then we dig our heels in. I do it too. Your belief that he's really not that good, you want validation. And you thought you had it early on. Still only 22, I might add. Now, he's proving you wrong, and you just can't get off the spot. He's going to make a lot of money, and he should. He's one of the best centers in basketball. I don't care how he gets his points. Do you care? What do you care how he gets his points? Answer me this. If all he can do is dunk, why don't teams defend him differently then? Why don't they push him out? You know why? Because he's one of the strongest players, if not the strongest players. An NBA player said this earlier this year. I think it was Anthony Edwards, I think. Anyway, said he's the strongest player I play against. Somebody said it. Anyway, he's done everything he can as a young player to grow and get better. I don't know what it is about him that you just can't seem to gravitate toward. I don't know why you think he's not a guy when everybody, I would argue everybody in the NBA right now would say he absolutely is. As far as Lucas Raymond, is it enough? No. He does have points in 4 of his last 5 games. All right? In 5 of his last 7. In 6 of his last 8. If that helps. Didn't register a point against Pittsburgh. Had a goal against Philly. Had a goal against Buffalo. Had a goal against Ottawa. Had a goal or assist against Ottawa. Had a goal against Boston. Had an assist against Calgary. And had a goal against Dallas. So 6 of his last 8, he's registered a point. I'm not saying it's enough because I understand where you're coming from. He's already signed to a long-term deal and a heavy contract, but nobody on the Red Wings has pulled their weight. I can't argue with that, Freddie. I'm not going to. It's something we're going to continue to monitor, and I get what you're saying. Shep, July 2015, they handed Drummond $130 million. Gores demanded it and said it publicly the months before they will give him whatever after his breakout season of 2015 with 16 points a game and almost 15 rebounds a game. He had 0 offensive game. We see how that turned out. I agree with you. Here's the difference. Jalen Duren is not Andre Drummond. He may not be as good a rebounder, but he's a pretty damn good one. He's a better offensive player than Andre Drummond. Don't you think? Come on. You don't think you have to admit that. There's no way you can think that Andre Drummond, who was exactly how you described, primarily a dunker, but a guy who could not hit a free throw if his life depended on it. He shot under 50% for his career from the free throw line. I'm not saying that's the be all end all in terms of finding out whether or not a guy can shoot. Jalen Duren's a 72% free throw shooter in his career. He's shooting 75% this year. And he's a damn good rebounder at 10 rebounds a game for his career. He's averaging 19.5 points a game, and he's averaging 10.5 rebounds a game. And if you don't think that's enough rebounds, I would remind you that, as I just said, the leader in the NBA in rebounds is Nikola Jokic at 12.9. What is it you are expecting from a player who has carried this team when the number one player, no one's saying he's better than Cade Cunningham, when the number one player goes down and your team goes 11-3, and they do it behind this guy because of how good he really is? What are you missing? You don't think it's enough? He is 6th in the league in rebounding. Nikola Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Donovan Clingan, Rudy Gobert, and Victor Wembanyama are the only ones who, on average, rebound more than Jalen Duren does. He is, and by the way, 3 of those guys have played more games than he has. I'm all for expectations. I'm all for that. Okay, raise them. I don't care who you're rooting for. I don't care if it's college or pro, because college today, these guys are all getting paid, right? So I'm for raising the bar, if you will. How high is the bar for this guy?
I think it might be too high for some people just because of the fact of what you said. People get stuck in their own opinions with, what they believed at first. And the fact that you say you can shoot free throws is great. I think the other thing, too, that some people just care about a little bit too much with today's NBA is the three-point shot. And the fact that maybe he doesn't take it and maybe he never will be able to take it. But again, he's only 22 years old. And I don't think that that's one of the main things that people should be looking at when he's doing exactly what you said, carrying the team to be 11-3 over the stretch when Cade's been out.
Yeah, and then I would ask you how many centers outside Nikola Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, and maybe Bam Adebayo shoot threes. Look, I said he was 6th in rebounding. He's 35th in scoring. If you just look at centers, he's 5th in scoring. If that's all you're taking into account, just the center position. And he's 4th in rebounding, or 5th in rebounding. I'm not sure what you want out of the guy. This team's won 55 games, and you're going to complain that Jalen Duren's overrated? Wow. That stuns me. I would guess you would have been texting he's underrated in your book, that you underrated him. He's proven an awful lot this year, and the confidence is sky high. By the way, we didn't even mention his defense. Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. Text line Sports Radio 21,000. This is X's and Bros on a Tullymore Thursday, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to AveloAir.com and get $20 off a base fare round trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That HUGE on AveloAir.com. Restrictions do apply. See AveloAir.com for details today.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
We are at it again with Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. We want to send you to the Final Four and the Tigers home opener. That's right. 2 massive events. We call it the ultimate VIP sport trip of 2 days of incredible sports action. You and a friend win an overnight stay at Soaring Eagle on Thursday night. Then you'll be driven to downtown Detroit for the Tigers opening day festivities and, of course, the opening day ball game. You'll get a free night stay in Metro Detroit and then take a private jet to Indianapolis Saturday morning to watch the Final Four. You're going to watch the national semis, 2 games, and then come back on a private plane ride home. The Huge Show will announce the winner at Soaring Eagles Sportsbook Ascend. Show up on April 2nd and enter to win. You and a friend are going to have a couple of busy sports days. Tigers Friday, Final Four on Saturday. Doesn't get any better than that. Register for the ultimate VIP sports trip brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and, of course, us here at the Michigan Sports Network. Back with you on X's and Bros, second hour of the program. We're brought to you by Meyer. Glad you're with us. Andy and I were talking a little bit earlier about April Fool's pranks. Did you see what happened in Washington last night? So the Wizards made a fan think. They blindfolded him at half court and said, you shoot this, and if you make it on a half court shot, you win $10,000. So they blindfold him. He gets maybe a two-step start, launches, doesn't even come close. I mean, goes over the backboard. And everybody starts screaming like he won $10,000. And he's in the middle of the floor, just in awe, bending over saying, oh, this is incredible. It's an April Fool's joke. That's cruel.
Yeah, I think
that's cruel.
I think that's a little worse than my professor doing what he did to me at CMU.
Yeah.
I would gladly take that over that situation for that poor guy.
What they did instead is give him an autographed jersey.
I guess
for a Washington,
not too bad.
Yeah, for a Washington Wizard.
Oh yeah, true.
I mean, who the hell wants that?
I think I saw some stat the other day that the Wizards haven't gotten as many wins as a couple of players that played in some of those Spurs teams that retired back in 10 years ago.
Oh yeah. Tim Duncan has more wins than the Washington Wizards.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. If I said to you, okay, it's a April Fool's joke, haha, and they only got 17 wins, by the way, or 17 and 59. You could have one player's jersey from Washington. Who would it be? CJ McCollum.
Yeah, you're not taking one.
Trey Young.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah,
Alex
I mean,
Sarr.
for sure, from what he's done already.
Yeah. Probably Trey Young, and he doesn't even play, really. I forget how many games that he's actually played with Washington. I want to say like a handful, maybe a dozen or a half dozen.
Yeah, definitely not something you're probably hanging in the basement at the end.
Yeah, nothing special there. No, I agree with that. We've got we've got a few things that we want to talk about, and we'll get to those. Let me finish up with some texts. Shep, let's see here. If the Pistons had a big man who could shoot like Victor and drive the lane, then they could actually get past Boston in the playoffs. Boston is bored right now. They will be the team who gets out of the East, even with Cade. Boston is talented and playoff experienced. I don't think you're alone in feeling that. Boston beat the living hell out of Miami last night, 147 to 129. Jason Tatum had 25. Sam Howitzer had 23. Excuse me. But the scorer was Jaylen Brown, 43. I don't think he gets mentioned nearly enough for MVP because he's been fantastic and leading Boston to 51 wins. You might be right. They've definitely got a 1-2 punch. Peyton Pritchard scoring, 14 off the bench helps them quite a bit. The Pistons have surprised everybody, I think, since their success, since Cade Cunningham went down. I can understand why people would take Boston because of that playoff experience. No question. And yet, if I ask you, what about Detroit and the Knicks? Most people would say Detroit easily. Well, wait a minute. Knicks have playoff experience. Not as deep as Boston, but they've got a playoff experience. The other thing I would say is every team wants a player like Victor Wembanyama. So, of course, I mean, that's such an easy thing to say. If the Pistons had a player like Victor, well, no kidding. If every team had a player like Victor Wembanyama, why do you think San Antonio's got 58 wins? OKC's on a roll. They've won 4 in a row. Nobody's got more wins than the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending NBA champs. They've got 60 knockouts, but they only got a 2-game lead because of Victor Wembanyama and what the Spurs have done. There's no doubt about it. That's why he might be the MVP. He's a front runner. Him, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think Nikola Jokic, and I think Jaylen Brown. So to say, if the Pistons get a player like that, you could say that about every team in the National Basketball Association, for crying out loud. This is a good one. Shep, they should have told the fan if he makes the half-court shot, he can make the team. He probably would miss that on purpose, for sure. We talked a little bit earlier about the Tigers and their offensive struggles. Their 1-0 loss to Arizona yesterday meant a sweep for the Diamondbacks, and it meant a wasted outing for Tarek Skubal, unfortunately. Kevin McGonigal, and I told you this before the season began, I said, he will hit at the top of the order. And I said, it'll happen before June. He's hit second the last couple of games. He went 2 for 4 again yesterday. Single up the middle, ripped one, I think, to the gap in right center field. Colt Keith has been pretty damn good too. Both those guys are hitting 364. I tweeted this out. I said, Kevin McGonigal is already Detroit's best hitter. And a lot of people like that, and some people responded. Going to be a long season if the rookie is your best player, is what Caddy Wampus said. Shep, it's kind of a shame that he's the best hitter. Wild that the rest of the team, Colt Keith, are minor league hitters. Save Colt Keith, are minor league hitters so far. So far, he says. I'd love to push back on that. Dylan Dingler's hitting over 300. Okay. Didn't come up in a big spot yesterday, but did double. Couldn't get him in. The guys who are struggling right now, Javier Baez, why you would throw anything but a slider to him is beyond me. Matt Vierling hasn't gotten on track. Parker Meadows up and down. And we mentioned the big three in terms of Green, Torres, and Carpenter. We've said this about the Lions. I'll say it about the Tigers as well. If this team's going to be good, better than good, if this team's going to be very good, win a division and win an American League pennant, the players they have to be really good. If the Lions want to win, they need their current players to be really good because very few rookies are going to come in and save you. First and second round, hopefully. Terrion Arnold has got to be good. Enos Rakestraw has got to be good. Jack Campbell's got to stay as good as he is. Okay. Tyleik Williams has got to be better. You invest in a first and a second and a third round draft pick in the past because they don't have a third round pick this year. Those players must be key moving forward. You can't swing and miss on guys like Terrion Arnold and Tyleik Williams in back-to-back drafts. You just can't. You can't swing and miss on Enos Rakestraw. That's 3 players you were expecting to contribute mightily. You can't swing and miss on Isaac Tesla. It's as simple as that. You can't swing and miss on Tate Ratledge. And Tate Ratledge was good enough last year. He's got to be better, but he was good enough last year. I want you to think about that for a minute. Think about their first and second round draft picks. In the past, those guys have been really good, right? Why is Brad Holmes, why is Brad Holmes considered a good general manager? Because he's made some really good picks. Oh, but Shep, he had multiple first a couple of times. So what? There's teams who've missed on a couple of first. Hello, Carolina. So you need those guys to be good. Otherwise, it sets you back. In any sport, if Steve Yzerman doesn't fulfill the needs of his team in the first round, he's in deep trouble. The team is in deep trouble. The players you sought because they were so highly considered by your scouting department, those guys have to be good. And that's why the Tigers have to be good with Green and Torkelson and Mize and players like that, because those are first-round draft picks. Kevin McGonigal is a second-round draft pick. Max Clark is having a good start to Toledo. If guys don't hit, if Jahmai Jones, whatever, if Parker Meadows, if they're not going to get it done, Max Clark's going to be called up. And he should be. That's the way it works. You have to produce. Doesn't matter what round you're chosen in, but you've got to produce. If you're on the major league team, you've got to produce. Our phone number on the Meijer hotline is 866-838-4843. This is a Tullymore Thursday. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Meijer.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples? Money saved. Meyer Essential Paper Towels? That's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meyer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
From Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Muskegon, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Traverse City, Cadillac, Lansing, and beyond, you are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard only on the Michigan Sports Network.
I don't know if you saw this yesterday. We mentioned that the Tigers are going to take on the Cardinals for the home opener this weekend, starting Friday night. Francisco Lindor yesterday forgot how many outs there were. They're in St. Louis. The Mets are in St. Louis. And there's a runner at first, and there's a ground ball up the middle. And Lindor casually fields it cleanly and jogs to first base, steps on the bag. There's only one out. Oops. And then they end up losing 4-2. So I'm just bringing that up because I've always liked Francisco Lindor. I liked Francisco Lindor when he played in Cleveland and the Mets. He seems like a different player. And maybe that team at some point is going to get it all together. They've got a lot of talent, for crying out loud. It's crazy. But they're off to a 3-3 start. Not that it should matter all that much through 6 games, but I think a lot of people, when you pay as much money as the Mets do for all that they have, people start to nitpick and then focus on specific players to see what you're worth. Are you really bringing it the way you're supposed to, especially early in the season? We're talking about performances here from the Tigers, and rightfully so, because they haven't done what they're supposed to do so far. But mentally, they're definitely in the game. These guys apparently not, at least early on. Francisco Lindor. Welcome back, X's and Bros. Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. I don't know if you watched the Big Ten Network much, but yesterday, Rafael Davis was on, and he was talking about the Michigan-Arizona matchup. And he's got Michigan winning over Arizona. I don't know if that's because he works for the Big Ten Network or what. I mean, I've worked with Rafael. He's a good dude. He studies. He's prepared. It's his opinion. That's fine. I respect that. He said that Michigan's front court of Yaxel Lindenborg, Morris Johnson, and Ade Mara are all first-round picks and might be the best front court the Big Ten's ever had. Do you think that?
No, I would not say it's the best ever. That's for sure.
I would hesitate to go that far too. And then I ask myself, if they are all first-round picks, which in the NBA, I don't know how much that matters. I mean, if you're a top 10 pick, it matters. How much does it truly matter if you're a first-round pick in the NBA draft? I'm not trying to take anything away from players who have been first-round picks. That's not fair. But I'm talking about you as a person, you recognizing them. Let me ask you this. Can you give me, I mean, you're a big sports guy, Andy. Give me 5 players drafted last year in the first round in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to give you 5 guys past the lottery picks. That's for sure.
Right. Besides Cooper Flagg, Con Knippel. I want you to think for just a moment. Who's the kid out of Rutgers? Dylan Harper for San Antonio.
Jace Richardson.
He wasn't a lottery though, right?
No,
he was a first round pick.
25th.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's a good one. Yes, you said 25th. Okay, I'll take your word for that. How many other like low round picks are you ever thinking of? Even if it's not last year. I mean, can you think of the previous draft? Can you think of 2024? Give me somebody from the 2024 draft who was a lottery pick. Ron Holland, right? 5th overall. My point is, in the NBA, usually it's the top 10 guys and everybody else. Are there exceptions? The Bruce Bowens, the Manu Ginobili's, the Tony Parker? Absolutely. I'm just bringing up the fact it's usually the top 10 guys. The best front court the Big Ten has ever had might be a little hyperbolic, don't you think? Think about that for a second. First of all, they haven't won the national championship yet. And I think Lindenborg's a really good player. He's a finalist for Player of the Year. Braden Smith's a finalist for Player of the Year. Boozer's a finalist for Player of the Year. My question would be, if they're not, who is? See, it's easy to say they're the best of all time. It's hard to say who isn't, or who is, I should say. If it's not them, who is? Michigan's probably the best front court in the country. Is that fair? I would say yes.
I think that's definitely fair.
Okay.
I think a lot of that is probably, honestly, with the NCAA tournament lineup that they've ended up having with the run they've had to go through, I feel like a lot of that's going to end up being judged off Arizona, because some people think that it's kind of weak how they got to the Final Four.
I don't know the front courts of Jerry Lucas and Ohio State and so on and so forth. My mind immediately went to 79 with Michigan State and Greg Kelser, who was first-team All-American, Ron Charles, and Jay Vincent. Two of them were NBA players. And by the way, I don't think that means that you've got the best front court in the country. You don't have to be an NBA player to do that. Bobby Knight's great teams in Indiana, when they won 31 games one year, 32 the next. Scott May, Kent Benson. Okay. Benson was the most outstanding player in the 76 Final Four, I believe. I know he wasn't a great Piston. I know that. Joe Barry Carroll led a pretty good front court for Purdue. When people say they're the best ever, you've got to have some type of parameters around it, or justification for it. Or you got to be able to say, well, this team's pretty damn good too, or this is why I think they're the best in Big Ten history.
I think
that's
something that could be being prisoner of the moment too. I mean, do you think any of those front courts you just mentioned are better than what Michigan has right now?
Well, from a collegiate standpoint, I mean, Joe Barry Carroll was incredible. Okay. He was better than, I think, any of the big players on the Michigan squad. Ken Benson, I mean, I was too young back then, but you look at his numbers, pretty damn good. I was a really young kid, but Michigan State, when I was a kid, was my favorite team with Kelser and Vincent and Charles. Charles was a really good rebounder. Gregory Kelser was a first-team All-American. Jay Vincent was a hell of a player. That's an unbelievable backcourt in 1979, or a front court. And then people talk about Magic Johnson. I get it. Terry Donnelly was the other guard. Magic Johnson gets all the pub from that team, unrightfully so. He was amazing, right? But Greg Kelser is first-team All-American too. He's a hell of a player in college. It's too bad he got hurt at the professional level. I just found that pretty interesting. While I flip around watching the Big Ten, they're previewing Michigan and Arizona. They're picking Michigan. And the reason he's picking Michigan, Raphael Davis, is because of the fact that Arizona's young up front. I mean, Ade Mara it's not like he's got a lot of games under his belt coming to Ann Arbor. Before he got to Michigan, when he was at UCLA, didn't play a lot. Morris Johnson's only a sophomore, right? It's not like Michigan's got a ton of experience under their belt either. So what they've done has been amazing, and they're a really good basketball team. If they win the national championship, is this the greatest Michigan team of all time? It would be their second national title. I guess it depends on who you think is the greatest Michigan team of all time right now. I don't know how you say anybody other than 1989. They're the ones who won the national title. Terry Mills and Loy Vaught, right? And Ramil Robinson and Sean Higgins and players like that. Mark Hughes. That Michigan front court was as good as, if not better than this year's, right? Depending on what they do against Arizona. Quick timeout. We're brought to you on this Tullymore Thursday by Meyer. Stay with us.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
We are at it again with Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. We want to send you to the Final Four and the Tigers home opener. That's right. 2 massive events. We call it the ultimate VIP sport trip of 2 days of incredible sports action. You and a friend win an overnight stay at Soaring Eagle on Thursday night. Then you'll be driven to downtown Detroit for the Tigers opening day festivities and, of course, the opening day ball game. You'll get a free night stay in Metro Detroit and then take a private jet to Indianapolis Saturday morning to watch the Final Four. You're going to watch the national semis, 2 games, and then come back on a private plane ride home. The Huge Show will announce the winner at Soaring Eagles Sportsbook Ascend. Show up on April 2nd and enter to win. You and a friend are going to have a couple of busy sports days. Tigers Friday, Final Four on Saturday. Doesn't get any better than that. Register for the ultimate VIP sports trip brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and, of course, us here at the Michigan Sports Network. I was talking just before the break about the Francisco Lindor with the Mets and how their loss to the Cardinals, who will be in town tomorrow for the Tigers home opener, and how Lindor forgot how many outs there were. It was early on in the game. I think it was the second inning. It's a scoreless game. There's a runner at first. There's only one out. Ground ball up the middle. It's right to him because they were shifted over just a little bit because you can't go past the second base bag with the new rules in baseball. Ground ball to him. He fields it cleanly, jogs to second base, touches the base, and thinks the inning's over, and it's not. So he forgot how many outs there were. That's one thing. Then later in the game, he reaches first base. He's got I would say, a 5-step lead, good lead against a lefty, Matt Libator. And he's slipping on his sliding glove. Throw to first, he gets picked off. It's going to happen, right, to just about everybody this year. So without making too much of it, just a reminder that dude makes $34 million. And he'll make it until 2031. He's going to make $34 million this year, next year, the following season. I mean, if there is a next year. It's amazing. Dude he just, at times, I mean, I don't recall him doing that stuff in Cleveland. And he's an accomplished player. He's a 5-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove, a Platinum Award winner for a Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger. Dude can play. You would think you'd want him on your team. How in this early in a season are you that forgetful? Very strange. All right, mock drafts. You're going to see them all over the place. All right. I was watching, I know, it's stupid, but I was watching a little bit yesterday about the pro day for Francisco Mendoza. And really liked the way the kid handles himself. I just didn't think he was a first-round quarterback or a franchise quarterback. I don't take guys just because I need a quarterback and he's the best one of the bunch. I take guys who I think are going to be, stars if you're going to be a quarterback. Mendoza is widely predicted to be the first overall pick to the Las Vegas Raiders, right? That's why Las Vegas has built up their offensive line and they focused on their defense. A lot of the free agent pickups, look at what they did in free agency, starting with Tyler Linderbaum, all right? Paid him way too much money, $27 million for a center, broke the bank. The highest paid center prior to that was 18 in Kansas City. Mendoza at the Indiana Pro Day yesterday, 53 of 56, 2 drops. So he missed 3 throws or incomplete passes to 3 throws. 2 of them were on the receivers. He threw 56 passes in 20 minutes with just a couple of short breaks. So that shows endurance. The other shows accuracy. He showed off his arm strength. He had a number of passes go 50 to 60 yards. Okay. He was very accurate. And there were at least 10 Raiders staffers there watching him. I'm trying to balance how good the kid was and how impressed you have to be to how impressed am I for a guy throwing in T-shirts and shorts and no rush. Like just sitting back, slinging it. Good for you. It's a hell of a job. What about pads? What about pressure? What about the snap clock? What about those people changing the defense in the secondary? It's kind of like, because he skips the combine, it's kind of like that. You're just checking out what his capabilities are. I've never understood that in my life. Like, I want to see a guy go through the drills in game-like situations. It's funny. You go on an interview with somebody if you're going to get a sales job, and what do? They want to know how you handle a customer. Let's take you on a trip and see what you do with a customer. Andy is going to be our producer, Andy McDonald. What's he doing? He's in the studio. Right? This is the show. He knows what it's going to be like. Fernando Mendoza is never unless he makes the Pro Bowl and they do that stupid flag football game, he's never going to be in a game in T-shirts, shorts, no pass rush, and just wide receivers going downfield and him throwing him the ball. Playing catch is one thing. Playing catch under fire is completely different.
Yeah, I can attest to that from my standpoint. Just the other day watching Trent Bally do a lot of stuff, but today I'm clicking everything and it's definitely coming at me a lot faster. So I'd imagine for Mendoza, he's got an NFL pass rush coming at him. That's probably gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah, the life should slow down once you get a pretty good idea of what's going on. That's why they talk about the game slows down. You've heard that phrase. You've heard managers, you've heard coaches say the game slows down for him. We talked about Macklin Celebrini earlier because he had his 40th goal the other night. He's got over 100 points. The game is slowed down for a 19-year-old, and it's going to get slower. Sidney Crosby's a better player now than he was back in the day. Why? Because Sidney Crosby, he's a great player. He's one of the greatest players of all time. But the game is slowed down a little bit, right? Quarterbacks, same thing. The game is a lot slower. It's a fast game, period. But the process is a lot easier for a lot of quarterbacks who have been there, done that. You want to know why Bryce Underwood is going to be better for Michigan this year? Because people feel like the game's going to slow down a little bit. Bryce Young for Carolina had a decent year this year after 2 really bad years because the game is slowed down a little bit. They've all talked about that. So I never understood that. On the other hand, for what he did, for the situation, he looked very good. And he is the consensus #1 draft pick in this coming draft later on this month. That said, some mock drafts. And we'll do this every once in a while. We haven't done this yet. This is the first time we've done it. All right. Tom Fornelli writes for CBSSports.com. He's had 3 mock drafts. We haven't mentioned any of them. His 4th is out, and this will be the first time we take a gander at it. All right, with you. He has, for the Lions, the guy I like the most. I'm sure if you've listened to this show, there's a tackle I like a lot, Monroe Freeling. There's a lineman I like a lot, Vega Ioane. He's the guard out of Penn State. I think he's a plug-and-play guy. Put him there, you're done. You don't have to worry about it. He's going to be there for 10 years if he's healthy at a high level. He's that kind of player. Fornelli writes about him. There are 2 locks in this draft. Mendoza to the Raiders and Ionia to the Ravens. He's got that at 14. Ionia isn't a lock, but it feels like one, seeing he is the pick in every single mock you've read so far. Monroe Freeling, who I like a lot, he's the tackle out of Georgia. Fornelli has him going #9 to Arizona. What's most important is not my thoughts, but experts, quote unquote, thoughts. One of them, Fornelli, at 17, the Lions taking Francis Mauigoa. He's the tackle for Miami. Here's what he writes. Perhaps it's time for Detroit to move Penei Sewell over to the left side of the offensive line. Drafting Mauigoa would help ease the transition to keep the Lions' run game from dropping off considerably. Prospect rank, 20th. So he's right there in that area. Position rank as the tackle, 4th, according to his beliefs. SI.com, Roberto Manzano's mock draft. Now, he's had a few already. Here's his latest. It's no surprise that Mendoza goes 1. At 17 for the Lions, he predicts them to take Monroe Freeling, the tackle out of Georgia. Here's what he writes. It's rarely a good idea to draft solely out of need. Gee, where have we said that and heard that, right? But I have a hard time believing Coach Dan Campbell when he told reporters he's considering moving Penei Sewell from right tackle to left side. At this point in the draft, it's better to focus on what's been established. Freeling flourished at left tackle with the Bulldogs. Sewell is the best right tackle in the NFL. They could be Detroit's bookend tackles for years to come. I'd love that. Absolutely love it. Unless you want to go with Messidor, the edge from Miami, who would go 2 picks later in the SI mock draft. So there's that. Mock draft for The Athletic. Now, this is based on what they consider intel from coaches and scouts and agents. Agents at the end, right? This is from Bruce Feldman. And you've seen him on Fox quite a bit during college games during the year. At 17, Bruce Feldman from The Athletic says the Lions will address the need of offensive line, but with a different name. And he writes Caden Proctor. He's the tackle from Alabama. Now, remember, I said this is a draft that is deep among offensive linemen. First round depth. I think a lot of first round picks are going to go to offensive line. Feldman writes, with no more Taylor Decker, Detroit needs help at tackle. The Lions have had a lot of luck with Iowa products, so why not grab an Iowa native? Proctor at 6'7", 352, an All-American in 2025, has as much potential as any O-lineman in this draft. He moves quite well for his size. He's an explosive athlete, having vertical of 32.5 at the combine and weighing north of 350 pounds. How many other guys this enormous can do a backflip like he can? His 5.2 40 is impressive given how massive he is. Alabama coaches I've spoken to are big fans of Proctor. He lost the weight last year that he was asked to lose, and a year before when he tore his labrum in pregame warmups in the opener, he came back in the next game and played the rest of the season with it. When I read that, I thought, that's going to be a red flag for Lions fans. Why? Well, easy. Because Lions fans think that all Detroit does is bring in injured players and draft injured players. The key there is that he actually kept playing with the injury. One SEC D-line coach said the guy's a giant. He can move whoever he needs to move. He's got some freakish ability with just how strong he is and how well he can move in terms of agility. I'd guess he'll be a right tackle in the NFL, but he might even be a better as a guard. As long as he controls his weight, I think he can be a hell of a player. A secondary coach who faced them. He's a behemoth. So huge, but we kind of walked away and we were like, our guy got after him pretty good. Does he have the feet to play against a Myles Garrett or TJ Watt? I don't know. He might be better as a guard. So those are red flags. And this is where you really got to rely on your scouts, correct? Yeah. But those are red flags. If you need a tackle, now this is just my philosophy. If you need a tackle, make sure you get a tackle. If you think the guy could be better as a guard, but you're going to try and force him to play tackle, that's a problem. Because, by the way, you've drafted a guard in each of the last 2 drafts. Christian Mahogany in the 4th round and Miles Frazier in the 5th round. So that's what you need. Make sure you get the tackle, but don't force it. Another draft, mock draft, the Sporting News. This will be the last one, I promise. But they do address the tackle position. It's interesting. Each time, what have we heard? We've heard these names that are associated with bigs up front. Haven't heard a corner, haven't heard a safety, haven't heard a linebacker. You can get that probably a little bit later. For the Lions, according to Sporting News in the 1st round, Blake Miller, the offensive tackle for Clemson, who I'm warming to, 6'6", 315 pounds. The verbiage, Lions need to rebuild their offensive line without left tackle Taylor Decker. Miller is a strong option to start and shine right away at either tackle, should the team decide to flip the athletic dominance of Penei Sewell. So Monroe Freeling is a guy I really like, as I've said. I like Blake Miller, Francis Mauigoa, and Caden Proctor. All tackles in each of these 4, and they're not the only 4, but those are the 4 I chose to just talk about, are position for the Lions at the tackle position. Now, the Sporting News actually goes through a 7-round mock draft. And in the second round, they have the Lions taking Malachi Lawrence, 6'4", 253 pounds. He played at Central Florida. They write Lawrence can be a dynamic pass rushing complement to Aiden Hutchinson and become more of an asset versus the run in time. It's, which concerns me a little bit. In other words, he's got to get used to the pass rush or run game. The thing that I look at and I start to question just a little bit is, are these mock drafts doing this solely based on team needs, or are they using the players they have ranked at a certain time or in a certain spot? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because it's sure, like you and I would immediately go, hey, thumbs up. Give me Blake Miller. Give me Monroe Freeling in the first round. And then give me that pass rusher in the second round. When the Lions' philosophy has always been, and at least in I think Brad Holmes' world, will always been best player available. And I think there's a lot of people who feel that, and there's a lot of teams who feel that. In case you were wondering, Sporting News has in the fourth round, Detroit taking Chris McClellan, a defensive tackle out of Missouri. He's 6'4", 313 pounds. I'm just giving you some names that in case you're wondering about. And they also, since Detroit has 2 fourth-round picks, they have him taking MSU center Matt Gulbin, 6'4", 305. He plays center and guard. So that's a fourth-round choice. Now, you and I both know the Pistons. The Lions also have a couple of fifth-round draft picks, too. So they go after a tight end, Marlon Klein out of Michigan, 6'6", 250. Wouldn't mind that at all. I think he's a good player. I think he's an athletic player. I think he's a big target. I think he can run block as well, and I think that's an important piece to that position, and they need depth at that position. If he's available there, I think that'd be a really good pick. The compensatory in the fifth round, I'm not going through the sixth and seventh. The compensatory, they have safety, Bishop Fitzgerald, the USC safety. So you had a chance to watch him a little bit, which addresses a need, but I'm not going to try and fool you and say, yeah, I definitely want that guy because I remember how he played. I don't remember. That's a guy you're going to have to look up and try to figure out a little bit. Speaking of the Big Ten, Brian Barnhart, our friend who is the strong play-by-play voice for Illinois basketball and football, will join us at 8:35. Speaking of the Final Four, we'll get to a little bit of that. And these are the next people in line for NFL big paydays. Are there any Lions? We'll talk about that on the other side when we begin hour number 3 of X's and Bros here on a Tullymore Thursday, brought to you by Meijer this hour.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to AveloAir.com and get $20 off a base fare round-trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That's HUGE on AveloAir.com. Restrictions do apply. See AveloAir.com for details today.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Brian Barnhart, our friend who is the play-by-play voice for Illinois basketball and football, joins us at the bottom of the hour. Welcome back. A very interesting thing here. The Sporting News, who does the All-American teams in college basketball, came out with its 140 all-time All-Americans and the first team, the second team, and the third team. You ready? College basketball all-time. Ready? First team, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, and David Thompson. That's pretty cool. I don't know how you can have a first team. I know you may not like this guy because I didn't like him with the Pistons. Can't say that I necessarily liked him at Duke either. I don't know how you can't do it with Christian Laettner. I think Christian Laettner is arguably the great in recent memory, the greatest college basketball of all time. I don't think he's better than Lou Alcindor. I don't think he's better than Bill Walton. But he's in that conversation. Led 4 teams to a national championship. Came up with some of the biggest moments the college game has ever seen. And he was consistent. I don't care what kind of pro you are. I'm talking about the collegiate game, okay? Second team, Pete Maravich. I mean, Pete Maravich is the all-time leading scorer in college basketball history, and he didn't have the three-point line. He averaged 44 points a game in his career at the collegiate level at LSU, did not have a three-point line. If he had a three-point line, he would be far and away. I mean, no one could come close to him if he had a three-point line. Watch videos of Pete Maravich at LSU. You'll be blown away. Oh, and by the way, guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he couldn't play as a freshman. Pete Maravich couldn't play as a freshman. I don't believe either. I got to double check that. He played in 67, 68. Maybe he did. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure he did. I got to check that. Maybe Andy can do that. Pete Maravich, LSU. See if he played his freshman year in 67, because he graduated in 70. Anyway, the second team, Maravich, Laettner, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, Elvin Hayes. Third team, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Danny Manning, Tyler Hansbrough, Jay Williams of Duke. I would argue Grant Hill's better than Jay Williams at Duke. But that's an amazing 3 teams. It's hard to nitpick there. Okay. I'm a little surprised that Glenn Rice isn't in there. But he was never player of the year. The thing about Jay Williams, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, because it's not that he wasn't a great player, because he was. Didn't he miss an entire year with an injury? I believe he did. Anyway, fun little exercise there. Let me correct something I said. Our friend Freddie made sure he was able to get in touch with me and say, no, sorry, you're off. You misspoke. Christian Mahogany was a 6th-round draft pick. I was thinking of Giovanni Manu. Giovanni Manu was a 4th-round pick. So thank you for the correction. Appreciate that, Freddie. Always appreciate your input. Without a doubt, whether we agree or disagree. Let me see here. He says, another text, and if you want to text us, Sports Radio 21,000, feel free and text us as often as you want. Shep, isn't Dan Campbell bluffing everyone saying they're going to move Sewell to left tackle? I feel he is. They really seem like they're trying to trade out and get a Sonny Styles kind of player. Who wouldn't want Sonny Styles? Sonny, you think they're going to trade up then, is what you're suggesting, in order to get a guy like Sonny Styles, who would be perfect for the defense, you would think. Look, I don't know. That means that means the thought is that Larry Borum would be your right tackle, at least early on, okay? Maybe you draft a tackle in the second round. Speaking of Larry Borum, here's what Dan Campbell had to say about him. Listen. Dan Campbell on Larry Borum as a possible right tackle. Is that what we got now? Yeah. Let's hear it.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the beauty of having a player like him is that you always have that flexibility of the possibility, of him playing left tackle. He's done it before. It's not anything foreign to him. So even as we're going through free agency, we weren't really pigeonholed like, got to get the left tackle or we got to get it right. We're just like, what's the best tackle for us? And then we'll kind of adjust as needed. And so that's kind of the beauty of it.
It's Brad Holmes. My apologies. Yeah, Brad Holmes on, the versatility there at the tackle position. I don't know. I played this yesterday, or we played it yesterday in general, where it was Ross Tucker saying, why would you move Penei Sewell? He's the best at what he does at the right side. Is he going to be the best at left tackle? I mean, I think it's fair to assume, as good a player as he is with feet and hands and all that stuff, you would think yes. But if you draft a guy, Blake Miller, I use that as an example, and that's one of the mocks. If you draft a Monroe Freeling, those guys could come in and play left tackle, you would think. Can Maui Goa? I don't know. Can Caden Proctor? I don't know. The other two, the consensus is they absolutely can. I don't think many people, not that you're being the general manager, coach for fans, because then you get in trouble. I don't think many people would feel good if you had Penei Sewell move to left and Larry Borom take over the right side. I think most people feel like Larry Borom is a guy who is going to be used as a depth piece. And you can understand that. Okay. Speaking of the NFL, the next in line, okay, not the last in line, which is a really good Ronnie James Dio song, but the next in line. I saw this from Fox yesterday. The next people to get paid the highest at each position. Do you think there are any Lions out there? He's got one. So the next quarterback to get the big payday, Lamar Jackson. The best running back, Bijan Robinson. The next wide receiver, Puka Nacua. We think, wink, wink, because he's checked himself into a facility. The next tight end, Kyle Pitts. The next offensive tackle, Darnell Wright. The next guard, Pete Skoronski. He's out of Northwestern, if you recall. The next center, Jared Wilson for New England. The next edge rusher, Will Anderson Jr. for sure. Okay. He's going to break the bank. Next D tackle, Jalen Carter. Next cornerback, Devin Witherspoon. Next safety, Xavier McKinney. And the next linebacker, Jack Campbell. What they write in this is the current highest paid player. So I'm just trying to prepare you. You ready? The current highest paid player is Fred Warner, who's a phenomenal player as a middle linebacker with San Francisco. He makes $20 million per year. Those are the things, just to give you an idea, those are the things you're trying to save for. I said this over a year ago, that the guy I would want to keep long-term would be Jack Campbell. Of the four players, and actually I said it because there was five at the time, it's Jamison Williams, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell. I said the one guy I would lock up long-term is Campbell. And then I said Branch would be two for me. And I know there were a lot of people shaking their head. What are you kidding me? Jahmyr Gibbs. And so I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a phenomenal player. He's a football player. He's a weapon. He's not just a running back. He's a hell of a weapon. But if running backs and shelf lives and all this other stuff, I mean, if you look at it, okay, you can use Todd Gurley as an example. Giants got rid of Saquon Barkley, probably a bad move. It wasn't great last year. Need offensive line. There's a lot of different things you've got to need to fall into place. Not that you don't with a linebacker, but Jack Campbell is a playmaker on the defensive side. And I think it's hard to find those types of every down guys. Bijan Robinson, and this is something we're going to have to keep in mind here as you look forward to Jahmyr Gibbs. Right now, the current highest is Saquon Barkley at $20.5 million. Just food for thought. Results of the final poll question, or yesterday's poll question when we come back, were brought to you this hour on X's and Bros on a Tullymore Thursday by Avello Airlines, AvelloAir.com. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 sportsbook for live betting, and it's built for March. DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering the most generous rewards in the market. This isn't a tournament you bet and forget. It's one you react to. With DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, you're not betting what might happen. You're betting what's happening. Possession by possession, play by play, live lines, props, next play outcomes. As this March Madness chaos unfolds, the bracket will break. So don't just watch the unexpected. Why don't you bet on it? New to DraftKings? Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Here's what you do. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code HUGE. That code is HUGE. Turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets instantly in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio. This is a limited time offer.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Speaking of the Final Four, Illinois is going to play UConn, and we're going to have Brian Barnhart to give us why he thinks the Illini have reached where they have. They were a 3 seed, what they need to do to beat UConn, and why he thinks they can win it all. And it's not just a, hey, you know what? This is my guy. Let's do this. This is my team. Let's say that. No, he's going to tell it like it is. He's always been really good about that. Appreciate his friendship very much, and for sure, he's a good guy to have on about this. This is X's and BrO's throughout the great state of Michigan. We're with you Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. You can get involved in the show in a lot of different ways. The Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. The text line, Sports Radio 21,000. Or you can join the chat on YouTube and on Facebook and on X, because we stream live there. Want to get to our final results of our poll question for sure from yesterday. But first, this is interesting in the Final Four. So many people feel like Arizona and Michigan is the championship game. And I'm going to ask that of Brian. Why is it not? Why can Illinois or UConn get there and finish the job? This is how close Arizona and Michigan are. Points per game this year. Arizona, 86.5. Michigan, 87.5. Points against. Arizona, I'm rounding, by the way. Arizona, 69. Michigan, 69.5. Field goal percentage. Arizona, 50. Michigan, 51. 3-point shooting. Arizona, 37. Michigan, 37. Rebounds per game. Arizona, 42.5. Michigan, 40. Assists. Arizona, 17. Michigan, 19. Blocks, 4 and 6. Steals, 7.5, 5.5. Turnovers, 10.7, 11.7. That's how close these two teams are. This game is going to be awesome.
Would you take the stance that I feel like a lot of people are taking, that this is maybe the national championship before the national championship, or is that not how you're looking at it?
Well, I think that's what most people feel, and I understand why. Because Arizona, both these two teams have been ranked number 1 most of the year. All right. Not all the year, but most of the year. Duke is in there, of course, but a lot of the season. I think it's, if you're going to try and tell me that winning championships, or if you're going to use the argument in the NBA playoffs, that playoff medal matters, you can't use it in this scenario, because UConn, they've got guys who played in a championship game a year ago and won a championship 2 years ago. So I think there's something to be said for that. That's you've got to respect the championship medal that Dan Hurley and UConn have been through. Not every single player, right? But their leading player, some would say their most important player, Caravan, he was on that championship team. Reed was not, but they did play in the finals a year ago. That should help. Illinois is an interesting story because Coach Underwood's never been there, and I think most of his players have not been there. And wouldn't it be something if you had an all Big Ten final?
Oh, absolutely.
And wouldn't it be something if Morris Johnson, who's really improved his NBA stock through the NCAA tournament, goes against the team that he just left?
I think that's the storyline a lot of people want that follow the Big Ten. That's for sure.
Well, I think a lot of people here want that.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean people in college basketball want that. I think a lot of people would love to see. I mean, at what point is UConn becoming too much? We all love teams, organizations that are considered, dominant and elite and franchise and dynasties, if they're ours. If they're not, then we roll our eyes and get tired of it. You may say, I'm a dynasty type of guy, so I like when Kansas City wins and the Chiefs and so on and so forth, because you may not be prone to a specific team in the NFL. Maybe you're just an outside observer. You're from Iowa and you don't have a pro team. So watching Kansas City, watching New England, watching the Niners, watching the Bills, even though they lost 4 Super Bowls, and watching those types of quote unquote dynasties, Steelers of the past, Cowboys of the past, that moves the needle for you. And then when I say, yeah, what about the dynasty that Michigan State basketball has built, or Michigan football has built, or Ohio State football? Oh, no. I don't like that. Why not? Well, because I'm an Iowa fan, and we're not in that mix. Oh, well, wait a minute now. You just said it's okay. It's different if it's not your team. And if it's your team, absolutely you love the dynasty aspect. People in Storrs, Connecticut, people like Bill Murray, whose son is an assistant coach, they love the UConn dominance or repetitiveness. Are they going to continue to love it if it's not your team? Like people around here, they don't give a crap. They don't want UConn to be a dynasty. I would say this. I don't know how much history matters to you that much, but UConn gets there. They don't lose. They do not lose, man. They've been to the title game 5 times, and they've won all 5 of them.
No, and going against them with the run that they've had to go through to get to this point, too, I think would also be not the easiest task for – some people might think that it's automatically a win for Michigan or Arizona. I don't think it is at all based off what you just said.
I don't disagree with you. Before the tournament began, which region did you think was the most challenging?
I mean, it's obviously the one with Duke, UConn, Michigan State. I mean, you're talking about a lot of St. John's, a lot of last names that are big in college basketball.
Kansas.
The head coaches there. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So those were your top 5 seeds. And your 6th seed was Louisville, who was a pretty good team, but ended up losing to USF, South Florida. Anyway, agreed. If you feel like you're battle-tested, and there's no question who had the toughest route, and it is UConn. When you have to beat Michigan State, the 3 seed, and Tom Izzo and that team in general, because they're really good defensively, okay, they're not a great shooting team. They find ways. Okay, you don't win that many games and not be a good basketball team. You don't beat some of the teams they've beaten and not be a good basketball team. And then you beat Duke, who was at full strength, who has arguably the player of the year, who played a tough schedule, beat Michigan on a neutral site. They didn't beat him at Cameron Indoor. They beat him in Washington, D.C. That's got to account for something, doesn't it? So to be so dismissive of a past champion, a coach who's got 2 rings, a team that seems to be peaking at the right time, and a team that went through the toughest region, I think is short-sighted. So as much as people want to go, it's Michigan or Arizona, don't even give the other side of the bracket a thought, you better be careful. Oh, and by the way, that number 1 overall seed, Duke, that had a team like UConn on the ropes and had a 96% chance of winning, up by 19 at the end of late in the first half, up by 5 points with a minute to go and having the ball in the last possession. And yet they still found a way. Just be careful there. Let's get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday. I just want to give you that comparison between Arizona and Michigan before we get Brian Barnhart on here. And Brian's the play-by-play voice for the Fighting Illini. Looking forward to this because he and I haven't talked for a while, but I'm excited about it. Here's the Mitch Lions Wealth poll question. Who has been the most disappointing Red Wing? Marco Kasper, Axel Sandin Pellikka, the front office, or other? What were the final results, Andy?
We got Marco Kasper at 20%, Axel Sandin Pellikka at 2%, which I feel like that kind of makes sense based off of being his first year in the NHL. The front office was 49%, and then other, which I feel like with this Red Wings organization, you could go a lot of ways right now. That finished at 29%. So
front office at 49%, then other, then Marco Kasper, then Sandin Pellikka. I figured it would go that way. It's hard to blame just one specific player, especially when they're as young as they are. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Brian Barnhart. He is the play-by-play voice for Illinois football and basketball. He's on this magical carpet ride. He's getting ready for Saturday's matchup between the Illini and UConn there in Indianapolis. He'll join us on the other side on X's and Bros on a Tully Moore Thursday, brought to you by Avello Airlines and AvelloAir.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 sportsbook for live betting, and it's built for March. DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering the most generous rewards in the market. This isn't a tournament you bet and forget. It's one you react to. With DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, you're not betting what might happen. You're betting what's happening. Possession by possession, play by play, live lines, props, next play outcomes. As this March Madness chaos unfolds, the bracket will break. So don't just watch the unexpected. Why don't you bet on it? New to DraftKings? Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Here's what you do. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code HUGE. That code is HUGE. Turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets instantly in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio. This is a limited time offer.
Thanks for listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. You want to talk to Shep? Call us at 866-838-4843.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Super excited for the weekend because of the Final Four. A lot of reasons, Red Wings, Pistons, Tigers with the first home series of the year, but especially because of the Final Four. The first game on Saturday in Indianapolis, Illinois against UConn. He's as good as it gets in the Big Ten in football and basketball. If you can't hear him because you're not in Illinois, what you can do is you can check out Sirius Radio. He is Brian Barnhart. He is a friend of ours, and he is the play-by-play voice for the Fighting Illini basketball and football program, has done it for a long time. He's an award winner. He's as good as it gets. Glad he's with us and glad he's a friend of ours. Brian, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Matt, great to hear your voice. How are you?
It is great to hear your voice, too. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for the Fighting Illini. You deserve this. You've done it before, but you deserve this for sure. What has impressed you most about the Fighting Illini's way of they done business this year?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you had a core, Matt, of like 3 or 4 guys that were back. And you know how it is now in this day and age of college sports, there's a lot of turnover, especially in basketball. And so, you had Kylan Boswell back, you had Jake Davis back, you had Thomas Lavivicic back, but not a lot else. And so you brought in a 18-year-old from Montenegro, David Mirkovic. You brought in Keaton Wagler, who really was kind of under the radar. People thought, he'll be a nice addition. He'll get a few minutes. He'll probably give Boswell a breather now and then. And then he turns out, of course, to be the freshman of the year in the Big Ten. So that was one of the big surprises along the way as the season unfolded. But, the way the roster was constructed, positional size, the ability to score from multiple levels. They added Andrei Stojakovic, who transferred in from Cal. And so, but on paper, you thought, well, this could be really good. Mm-hmm. And then they struggled a little bit defensively. They lost the game by 13 to UConn, who they ironically play again in the Final Four here in Indianapolis. They lost a buzzer beater game to Nebraska at home, 83-80. You wondered, okay, I don't know, does this team have it defensively? Then they retooled a bit defensively before the Missouri game, which is a huge game in St. Louis every year. And then they went on a 12-game winning streak, and the emotions of the fans, Matt, went from, well, I don't know how this team is, to, man, we're going to win the national championship. And then they went 4-5 in their final few games, lost some overtime games, UCLA, Michigan State, Wisconsin. And then people were kind of like, well, I don't know. Can this team get out of the first weekend? So it's been a roller coaster for the fans. Now, the coaching staff, of course, has tweaked the roster. They've tweaked the rotation during the course of the year. And we can talk about this a little more as we go, Matt. But if you go back to the UConn game in late November, Jake Davis, who's now starting, played like 8 minutes, took 1 shot. Mihailo Petrovic, who plays in mop-up duty now, came in from Serbia. We thought he was going to be one of the point guards. He played 18 minutes. He's playing about 1 or 2 now. The whole roster is completely kind of changed from where it was, their roles I'm talking about, in the rotation since late November. So it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but man, has it been fun to watch, because these guys they have a lot of fun. The chemistry is as good as I've seen in my 24 years. And they're really good on the basketball court. They know how to have fun, but they also know when to get down to business with the scouting reports.
Yeah, that's well said. I was going to ask you how different it is against UConn compared to the November 28th matchup. You really can't gauge what this game is going to be like based off that by any stretch, but you've already answered it. You mentioned the rotation. Coach Underwood's rotation has changed, as you mentioned, for sure, but it's still a really big team. Illinois is one of the biggest teams in the country. How have they used that to their advantage?
Well, I think they may be the biggest. What we used to, the all airport team, if they come through, they are really tall. And you've got 2 7-1, 7-2 twin brothers, Thomas Lavin, Zvonimir Ivicic. They can stretch the floor, particularly Tommy. Now, they both struggled a little bit down the stretch in those last 9-10 games from 3. But their size, their ability to stretch the floor causes a problem on one end. Then you've got, Stojakovic coming in, who can drive to the basket so they can score that way. And then, of course, Wagler is, a 40% three-point shooter that he can score. And so the combination of all of those things, the offense has never really been an issue all year, Matt, because They can score on all three levels. They get to the foul line a lot, and they make about 80%. They don't foul. They almost lead the country in fewest fouls, so they don't put other teams on the line. And pretty soon, you're adding up to 80, 85, points, which is about what they average per game on offense. So they put a lot of pressure that way. But really, the key is the rebounding. They rebound, I think it's plus 10 or 11 per game on the glass. And the games they've lost, they've either been out-rebounded or it's been really close about 95% of the time. So the rebounding is what they do well, the second chance points. They shoot the three okay. I mean, it's 35% roughly. But they get so many second chances that that's how they score. When they play any kind of defense, and that has been a little bit of a roller coaster with injuries and up and down and the change in the rotations. But when they played Houston the other night, they were lights out defensively. And if they play like that, that's what convinced me they could win a title if they play like that, especially on defense.
He is the outstanding Illinois play-by-play voice for football and basketball. Brian Barnhart joined us. Follow him on Twitter at bbarnes64. You had mentioned the win over Houston. I think some people were a little surprised by that. Probably not you, but you played a tough schedule. You really did. You had mentioned some of the teams that you'd already played. You'd mentioned UConn specifically. How do you think the Big Ten schedule has prepared Illinois and really a lot of the Big Ten teams that were proud to represent the conference as far into the NCAA tournament as they did?
Well, I think it prepared them well, and you're right, because and you know this. I mean, I think coaches schedule based on how they feel about their team. Do they feel good about it? If they're not sure, some of the early years of Brad Underwood when the team was rebuilding, we scheduled a little softer, to get some wins. But when you're at this level, and I think his anticipation was this could be a potential Final Four team. He scheduled hard. We played Tennessee in Nashville, won that. You played UConn at Madison Square Garden. You play Missouri every year in the bragging rights game. You played Alabama in Chicago. And so they scheduled. In fact, I think at one point, Matt, they had played because of the Big Ten teams. There were 5. Then they had played 3 other teams. When we got to the Sweet 16, Illinois had already played 8 of the teams in the Sweet 16. Wow. At some point during the year. So I mean, that'll toughen you up pretty quick. And then just playing in these different big arenas and winning some really. Texas Tech was another one they played along the way. So it got them ready. And then the upper 8 or 9 teams of the Big Ten, as you saw this year, were really, really good. You got near the bottom of the conference, Penn State, Maryland, those teams were struggling. But you saw a 9th place Iowa team get to the Elite 8. So that tells you something right there.
I don't know if this is a really good question or not, but do you think it matters much, and if so, how much, that you're familiar with Indianapolis, that your team has been there? It's a comfortable setting for your team. Does that matter, do you think?
Well, I don't know how many of the guys on the current team, have played in Indianapolis that much. I guess if maybe a couple of guys might have been around 2 years ago, we played in the Big Ten tournament. The program itself, the fans, of course, are very familiar with it. We played in the COVID year, different group of guys, Ayo DeSumo and Kofi and that crew, played in the Big Ten tournament when they held it at Lucas Oil Stadium and won it that year. But for the fan base, there is a huge comfort level. For the team, of course, it's fantastic because it's 2 hours away. I mean, they just bus over here yesterday, had a huge send-off in Champaign for them, and you can get here in just under 2 hours. So, it's an easy trip. It's not a long flight to Los Angeles or anything like that. Sure. So from that standpoint, that's a huge comfort level. As far as playing in Indianapolis, not a lot of our guys have that before, but I can tell you, Matt, 21 years ago, and I don't know what it'll be tomorrow, when they have that open practice in St. Louis for that day, we had 30,000 people show up for a practice, just for fans to watch them shoot layups and shoot baskets. Now, I don't know if we'll get near that again. I don't know. That was 21 years ago. But and that team had been number 1 most of the year. But I'm expecting several thousand will show up at the practice tomorrow just to watch them shoot because it's so close to Champaign and so many people can get there.
I think people forget this. First of all, Brad Underwood's a really good coach. Only one of 4 schools nationally, 6 straight 20-win seasons. Big Ten's winningest team in the league over the last 6 years. Only team with a winning Big Ten record in each of the last 6 seasons. But first time in this situation. What does he do best as a coach, do you think?
I think the biggest thing is he adapts to his personnel. I mean, you think 3 or 4 years ago, we were throwing it into Kofi Coburn all the time, and the offense was centered around a 7-foot center who was dominant and relied on that kind of offense. They've changed. They went, last year, a couple of years ago, the Elite Eight team we had, Terrence Shannon, was the lead guy on that team. But Marcus Damask, they utilized his skills, a transfer from Southern Illinois, where he would back people down. He's really, really good at taking what he's got. And with Tyler Underwood, his son, as his offensive coordinator, they really are really good at adjusting, even within game. They tweaked a few things the other day against Iowa, what they were doing offensively and defensively with their defensive coordinator, Cam Crocker, what they were doing with Bennett Sturts of Iowa. So I think year to year, he's able to adjust to what he's got and make that the team that he has the best they can be at what they do. So I think he's not afraid to change. But also I think he was a junior college coach for several years. And I think he's really good at assembling a roster because there's a lot of turnover in junior college, as you know. And I think he learned in some of the building blocks of putting together a roster that prepared him for this NIL transfer portal era that has really helped him now. So I think those skills he acquired over 39 years of being an assistant coach and as a head coach at Stephen F. Austin and that sort of thing has really made him into a coach that I think nationally now will get some recognition. It's probably flown a little bit under the radar. People in the Big Ten know who he is, but I think nationally people are beginning to figure out how good he is.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. He does a great job as the Illinois' play-by-play voice. Brian Barnhart's been doing it for a long time there as the voice of football and basketball for the Fighting Illini, joining us here on X's and Bros. What's the challenge against UConn? You've seen them once, obviously. They've got a pedigree. They've got a hell of a coach, too. What's the biggest challenge against the Huskies Saturday?
Yeah, probably the way Reed's playing. I mean, he's been dominant he didn't do a whole lot in the game with us. So that's probably a concern. Caravan and his, you mentioned pedigree, his experience at playing in these big games. They certainly have the experience quotient, I guess, at being in the Final Four. And Hurley, for all of his antics and all of the excitement that he causes on the sideline, he seems to be a really, really good coach. A lot of fans don't like him because he's so animated there on the sideline, but he seems to know what he's doing and putting together a team. I think their toughness, their grittiness, I mean, that showed me a lot to come back like that against Duke because they were down and out. And Duke usually finishes off teams like that. And the fact that they fought back, and that's where I think the Houston game, the way they played against Houston, will prepare them well for this game Saturday because UConn is tough and physical and they've just got to match that. And I think overall they're probably, a more offensively skilled basketball team than UConn is. UConn struggles, I think, to shoot the three consistently. At least they have in this tournament. But I just think their experience, like you mentioned, their pedigree in that regard, probably they're just the biggest challenges. And we just need the guards to rebound. Keaton Wagner had 12 rebounds in that game against Houston. When the big guys up front are battling, the guards have to be able to get those long rebounds, and hopefully they can do that again Saturday.
Well, there's no question who had the most challenging path to the Final Four, and that is UConn. And they've got that type of pedigree, but your length, your size, your depth might really help Illinois on Saturday. I'd be remiss before I let you go if I didn't ask you about the other side of the bracket. As a basketball play-by-play guy, as a basketball fan in general, forget your association with the Big Ten. What do you think of the other matchup, and who do you like in it?
Well, and it's hard to ignore Michigan. I mean, we see them. You're familiar with them. We saw them in Champaign, and they were really, really good that night. I haven't seen as much of Arizona. I know they're really good. I've seen glimpses. I saw them play Houston in the a couple of times, and then again in the Big 12 championship game. They're really, really good too. That is a titanic matchup. some people probably feel that, might be the championship game in their
A lot of
minds,
people feel that. Yeah, I don't think that's fair, but a lot of people feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, I get it. I saw enough of Michigan up close, and what was hard for Illinois fans in that game was Perez Johnson, of course, had been with us. He had committed to Illinois for, as a sophomore or junior in high school. And the fans fell in love with him when he was in Champaign because he had such a motor and played so hard. And then he went to Michigan, and then Michigan comes in and beats us in Champaign. So, but having seen Michigan up close, I haven't seen a better team than Michigan this year. Now, like I said, Arizona, that should be a classic matchup. But Lindeborg and Merez and all those Mara, and I mean that's a tough nut to crack, Michigan for sure.
It's great to visit with you, man. Miss seeing you at games, but always respect how professional you are and what a great job you do both on the football side and the basketball side. Have fun Saturday, man. Keep up the great work.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Great to visit. Great to catch up, and hopefully we'll see you again here at some point.
All right. I hope that's the case. Thanks very much. It's Brian Barnhart. He is the play-by-play voice for the Fighting Illini, Illinois basketball and football. Does a great job. He really does, man. I mean, a lot of my friends from the Big Ten, they're still doing it. Don Fisher, for example, we've had him on. Gary Dolphin from Iowa. Brian Barnhart, as I mentioned. Dave Ennett from Northwestern. George Blaha doing Michigan State football, and Will Tiemann doing Michigan State basketball. It's great to see a lot of these guys enjoying what they do, and still representing their teams and their institutions, because they do a hell of a job with it. So I miss that aspect of it. I'm not gonna lie, man. I miss being around that type of atmosphere. Doing college basketball is really cool. It really is. I mean, I've done every sport you can imagine, but college basketball, there's something special about being in those film rooms and having breakfast with a lot of those teams and those players and watching them grow, and then seeing them end up in the NBA, like I've been fortunate to do. Tim Hardaway Jr. a year ago, Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson this year with the Pistons, seeing how well they progress. And I know, knowing Brian as well as I do, he feels the exact same way. So we appreciate his time very much. Our thanks to Andy McDonald, our producer, and Trent Bally, who's also helping produce today's show, and Brian Barnhart, but most of all to you for giving us a little bit of your time on a Tullymore Thursday, because you've got choices, you've got options, and we greatly respect that and appreciate any time that you give us, whether it be on our network or on our streaming service, where we stream live every day on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook.